Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. This season, Coach Steve Kerr has been making confusing lineup choices and hasn't been able to define the starting five or the rotation. Despite being a multi-champion, some NBA analysts believe it's time for Steve Kerr to leave the Warriors. In addition to the surprising lineup choices, Steve Kerr has had conflicts with young players. And he always has Draymond Green's support. Some NBA analysts argue that the Warriors owner needs to restructure the roster and that Steve Kerr and Draymond Green should leave as well. A team built to win now around Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler just isn't doing that. Golden State ranks 20th in offensive rating, even with Curry averaging 29.6 points per game. Explosive comments from former NBA guard Brandon Jennings laid bare the fatigue that many observers are experiencing with the Warriors. Appearing on former All-Star and Warriors guard Gilbert Arenas' podcast, Jennings called for Golden State to fire longtime head coach Steve Kerr and entertain trade offers for Butler and Draymond Green. Kerr's schemes, him not wanting to play young players, the things that he's doing with Jonathan Kuminga, it messed everything up, Jennings said. Butler is a second option, that's not going to work. Jimmy Butler, he can be on the trade block, and Draymond Green. These decisions would bring an end to a historic era in Golden State, in which the Warriors have won 4 NBA championships since 2015, all of them with Kerr, Curry and Green. You've just got to let Steph know this is what we're doing, Jennings said. Regardless if Steph has a problem with it or not, the fact is that it's business. Kerr, who led Team USA to a gold medal at the Summer Olympics just last year, has been criticized for a perceived failure to develop the Warriors' young players. Kerr's frosty relationship with former top 10 pick Kuminga has served as a flashpoint and has created significant questions about the Warriors' future in the post-Curry era. Though the Warriors are unlikely to fire Kerr and trigger a teardown right now, the franchise is more than aware of fan frustration and on some level, change is inevitable for one of the oldest rosters in the NBA. Warriors' Draymond Green explains Steve Kerr's consistency issues. The Golden State Warriors have been one of the most inconsistent teams in the NBA this season. They're 13-14 and in 8th place in the Western Conference, and it seems like people never know what version of them they're going to get. Outside of Stephen Curry's heroics and big scoring performances, there are no guarantees for a team that continues to shake up the starting lineup and the rotation. With that in mind, Draymond Green addressed the criticism of Steve Kerr's decision to keep testing things out despite being past the first quarter of the season. Draymond Green defends Steve Kerr's rotation changes. Everyone needs consistency, but we haven't consistently been good, Green said on his podcast. You build consistency with something that's working. If it's not working, you don't keep doing the same thing. You try to find what is going to work, find groups that work together, and until then you're tweaking things. The 4-time NBA champion acknowledged that he understands why the fans might be frustrated by watching players go in and out of the starting lineup and even the rotation. Sometimes, it varies from one game to another. Still, the Warriors are trying to figure out what works best for them. So, I understand why there hasn't been the consistency or continuity that people have been speaking about, because you have to find what works, Green added. Then once you find something that works, you don't go away from it, you lean into that. Of course, with more than a decade in charge of the team, Kerr's Warriors should have a well-defined identity by now. Then again, with little to no moves in the offseason, an aging roster and young players who didn't turn out to be as good as expected, Kerr might be doing the best he can with the hand he's been given. Steve Kerr explains decision to bench rookie sensation amid Warriors' latest skid. Bright spots have been hard to come by for the Golden State Warriors, 13-14, in 2025-26. However, their number 56 overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft, Will Richard, bursting onto the scene as one of the most NBA-ready rookies to begin the new campaign, could certainly be labeled as one. With that being said, Golden State's legendary head coach Steve Kerr recently opted to remove the 22-year-old guard from his rotation for their past 2 contests against the Minnesota Timberwolves and Portland Trail Blazers, both losses, a head-scratching move for a franchise in dire need of youthful, but experienced bench options. According to Mercury News' Joseph Dicus, Kerr's decision had more to do with the return of a few key veterans than any concerns regarding Richard's production. "The great thing with Will is he gets it," Kerr shared with Dicus on Wednesday. "I went to him last week, told him, I'm going to take him out of the rotation because we're getting healthy, and I want to play my vets and give everybody a look." Kerr went on to explain that Richard took the news from a positive angle, yet another showing of the first-year shooting guard's maturity. Through his first 23 appearances for the Warriors this season, Richard has contributed 8.0 points, 2.7 rebounds, 1.1 assists and 1.0 steals while knocking down 39.7% of his looks from three-point range and boasting an excellent 1.1 defensive box plus-minus. Richard began to earn plenty of favor from Kerr and the rest of Golden State's coaching staff after a fantastic opening to his debut season, but it appears as though the franchise will begin to prioritize veteran guards like DeAnthony Melton and possibly the quickly developing Pat Spencer instead. At the end of the day, Kerr's decisions will be geared towards providing as much help as possible for the Warriors' 37-year-old superstar Stephen Curry, as the four-time NBA champion has remained in MVP shape despite the team's mediocre start. Brett Siegel confident Warriors will make multiple trades before deadline. After a promising start, the Golden State Warriors are now mired in a mediocre campaign, tumbling to a 13-14 record entering their game against the Phoenix Suns on Thursday. There were worries about the Warriors' aging roster, led by the trio of Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green. Recently, they have struggled to stay together on the court due to various injuries. Golden State is eager to right the ship, and for clutch points Brett Siegel, the front office will be eager to find other players. Mike Dunleavy and Joe Lacob want to be very aggressive with their moves, and I'm pretty confident in saying that they are going to make a couple of moves before the trade deadline, said Siegel on Clutch Scoops. The energy's been low, the veterans are getting frustrated, something needs to change at this point. Obviously, Jonathan Kuminga is the piece that the Warriors will be looking to move and dangle to other teams. There have been whispers that the Warriors are considering Domantas Sabonis of the Sacramento Kings and Ivica Zubac of the Los Angeles Clippers to add an imposing big man to their roster. Siegel, however, said that seems to be implausible. Sabonis, Zubac, I don't think that either one of them is even on their radar at this time, noted Siegel. They definitely need frontcourt help, and when they trade Kuminga, they're gonna need some sort of Andrew Wiggins-like player on the wing and at the power forward position to help Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green. Athleticism is a problem for this team right now, and it will be their downfall come playoff time if they don't address that. Michael Porter Jr. of the Brooklyn Nets could also be a target for the Warriors, but Siegel said it will be difficult to acquire him. Golden State Warriors told not to trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo, it wouldn't help Stephen Curry. The Golden State Warriors urgently need roster improvements to maintain contender status. Their unimpressive performance has relegated them to play-in positioning, including a 2-game losing streak despite Stephen Curry's exceptional individual play. Trade speculation centers on moving Jonathan Kuminga for upgrades, with increasingly bold proposals emerging. Some scenarios involve pursuing Anthony Davis or Giannis Antetokounmpo by surrendering Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, or both alongside future draft capital. Ills. Bill Simmons questions whether Giannis Antetokounmpo acquisition solves Warriors' fundamental problems. NBA analyst Bill Simmons advised against all-in trades, even for a player of Giannis' caliber. Acquiring the two-time MVP would require surrendering significant assets including Butler, Green, and multiple first-round picks. There's no trade that fixes them. Let's give them every asset they have, they trade for Giannis. Are they one of the best teams in the West or not? I wouldn't do that, Simmons stated. Let's say that they could trade Draymond and Butler and all their picks for Giannis and Kuzma. Does that do anything for them? I don't think it does, Simmons added. Simmons' reasoning reflects the Warriors' need for both star power and roster depth to compete in the Western Conference. Surrendering their remaining core pieces for one superstar would create roster imbalance while sacrificing draft picks complicates future flexibility. Zach Lowe predicts continued play-in struggles regardless of blockbuster moves for Golden State Warriors. Simmons co-host Zach Lowe shared skepticism about the Warriors' ability to compete with elite Western Conference teams like Oklahoma City Thunder, Denver Nuggets, or Houston Rockets, even with significant roster changes. It gives you a little bit of a better roadmap for the immediate post-Steph era. They're going to have to go through play-in again, which means they're going to have struggled to get the 8th or 7th seed and hammered by one of these teams at the top of the West, Lowe explained. The Warriors require significant roster upgrades, but must prioritize trades that enhance competitiveness while maintaining balance because the idea of the trade should be centered around helping Curry now and building the team after he retires. Therefore, Kuminga and role players like Buddy Hield and even Al Horford might be the ideal candidates to be trade pieces. All-in moves for singular stars risk creating new vulnerabilities without adequately addressing the comprehensive roster deficiencies preventing championship contention.